I can't help but to hear that cautionary tale of all the athletes who come back from a serious injury. It's amazing they're back as soon as they are, and then they're not quite the same guy. I think that has poisoned the Isaiah Pacheco conversation this offseason, for example.
Right.
But he looks good.
It's that football show here on KC Sports Network. Tucker Franklin not hanging out with Matt Bourbon today. Joshua Brisco filling in for us on a Friday edition of that football show. Thank you to our partners, Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon and Holiday Distillery. Love the fine folks there. Always keep the bottle on the desk. You guys know that. I'm joined by Joshua Brisco today, filling in for Matt Verder. Matt, obviously, as you guys know, went under the knife. He is okay. I did talk to him. I have verbal confirmation he did make it out of the surgery. Just not feeling up to recording a podcast, which, you know, is understandable. So, Josh, stepping in for Matt today, how does it feel?
Look, Tom Thibodeau, I get it. I hear it. You need a new voice. His message has gotten a little stale. I'm sorry, Tucker. How many times in your lifetime have the New York Knicks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Was he coaching these guys too hard? Soft generation, soft franchise. Please. Jason Kidd now? Tom Thibodeau got the New York Knickerbockers to a place they have not been, Tucker, in a very long time. And you're going to tell me he's the problem? Please.
I am really disappointed that we didn't get Verderam for the post-Tibbs episode.
I think he supported the firing, actually, on social media. I was waiting on pins and needles for his actual take. I think he was fine with it. It felt like something he would not appreciate, and so I was surprised.
I do think on the podcast he did say after the Halliburton dagger in game one. I shouldn't call it dagger, just send it to overtime. But the Halliburton comeback and the Pacers comeback in game one, he said that's a fireable offense. He said, I don't care if they win the series, like it's still a fireable offense. And so like that makes sense. He only plays like 6 guys too. So like that's also kind of a problem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy how he approaches that. But look, you're already getting a little bit of taste of that basketball show here with with Josh and I. But no, we're rocking and rolling here as the off season rolls on. Appreciate everybody hanging in, all the ball knowers hanging out with us. Josh, that's what we call the viewers and listeners.
Well, I'm familiar. I am a frequent, but not every single week ball knower myself, which I think explains a whole lot of my takes. You can't get them all right unless you're listening to that football show every week. No, you guys have been on an absolute heater with this program. And my only disappointment with me being here means that we are depriving the world of another hour or so of you and Matt talking about a lot of things, including Aaron Rodgers and a power ranking I'm very excited to get to today. So, I mean, we're in a good place right now. I'm loving it.
Yeah, there's obviously some headlines we'll talk about coming out of OTAs. We'll talk about a little bit of that there before we hit our break and do some quick hitters before we get to that segment and before we get into our power. I need a sound effect for the power rankings.
I think just a nice thudding like that'll do.
Power rankings coming up after we get to our quick hitters after the break. But first, let's talk about some Chiefs OTA headlines, Josh. On Tuesday's podcast, Fernando and I talked about this a little bit. What can you actually take away from OTAs? You know, not really much. These are guys in T-shirts and shorts. They're running around with helmets on, and they can't touch each other. So how much can you really take away from a football practice like that, especially when you only get to see individual period for about 15 minutes? Probably not much, but what we do get to take away is from press conferences. We get press conferences with assistant coaches was this last Wednesday, I believe. Next week it'll be on Thursday. One of the big things that I saw from press conferences is, you know, what Nate Taylor talked about on Only Weird Games last week, and even on Thursday is Rashee Rice seems good to go, which is very surprising considering the knee injury that he did have. There's a lot of concern that he could miss even some games with that injury, plus with the suspension. There's no news on either of those fronts, which seems to be good news for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And look, I said this a couple of weeks ago on Weird Games, and I think this may have come up when we were doing 21 questions a while back too. I'm going to continue to put my little like self-preservation shield of concern, of hesitance out in front of me, because it is a tremendously serious injury, the type of thing that does take a long time to get back from. I'm going to caution you on something, and then I'm going to join the hype train here, okay? But I remember really clearly talking to Juan Thornhill during his recovery, and now he had his ACL tear. It was like week 16, 17, somewhere, it was very end of the season, and he obviously ends up having that recovery process. And then after his initial return, he was back. He felt 100%. Everything was I'm back on the football field, and I feel like myself. I'm trusting my knee. We're good here. Well, then the next year in training camp, I just remember being in the tent in St. Joe. The next year in training camp, he talked about how he was actually back now, how he actually felt like himself. And I certainly I don't blame Juan Thornhill for the first time through saying out loud, I'm back, because one, I think you almost have to believe that to even get back to that point. And then two, you've got to set that standard for yourself. And obviously you don't want to either be making excuses or arguing that you're not 100% back. And obviously he had good years after that. Got a nice deal from Cleveland. All good there. He did make a return. Even then, I would wonder, I mean, in a lot of cases of serious injury, another Chief safety, Brian Cook, a guy who had a serious injury and then came back. And I think that it drops their ceiling by a little bit, right? Because you might be shaving off 5% of your explosiveness or athleticism. And I'm making up the 5% number.
For sure.
But you might just lose a teeny bit, and your margin for error shrinks. Your chance for dominance shrinks, but not shrinking to zero, just shrinking a little bit. Well, with Rashee Rice, obviously the biggest difference for him, as opposed to even like Charles Omenihu and some of the other guys, Rashee Rice got hurt near the very beginning of the season, so he's got extra time. He's already missed 15 games or whatever it ended up being last year.
Yeah.
So he's paid that price and then has this offseason to get back up into shape. I can't help but to hear that cautionary tale of all the athletes who come back from a serious injury. It's amazing they're back as soon as they are, and then they're not quite the same guy. I think that has poisoned the Isaiah Pacheco conversation this offseason, for example.
Right.
But he looks good.
He does.
He looks good. I'm going to have cautious optimism at absolute most until like week 6, because he could still be suspended. We'll see what training camp looks like. But if he's out there not in a yellow jersey, he's out there doing full team stuff and all of that in training camp. If he's not even, let's say, having some load management days in training camp, right now I would think that would make some sense. You just want to make sure nothing that knee acts up. I'm afraid we're going to have Andy Reid talking at some point in St. Joe and saying, yeah, we held Rashee out today, got a little swelling. We want to let it calm down. Something that Andy says all the time. We want to let it calm down in there. That also could just be absolutely normal part of the process. But that's where my concern comes from. I came into this last couple of weeks with all of that concern. Now I am giving up some of that concern for optimism, because he's done everything you'd ask him to do to this point.
I agree. And I think you see the clips coming out of there, and you've seen the clips from Camp Mahomes, him working out with Patrick Mahomes. And I'm kind of even shocked a little bit too of just how well he's looking, moving with an injury that is a very uncommon knee injury too. I think that's not kind of what's talked about very much with Rashee Rice's injury. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, it's a knee injury, and they think ACL, right? And it wasn't an ACL injury. It was a lot more ligament specific than just like an ACL injury. And people have been able to come back from ACL injuries, right? Because it's become a routine surgery. There's surgery he went to. I don't know how routine it is necessarily, because it's kind of an obscure injury.
Contact as opposed to non-contact. Direct bending the wrong way contact.
Yes. And I think that's very interesting in his recovery and everything like that. The suspension stuff is interesting on top of itself, but there's legitimately zero news on that. So, I mean, no news is good news if you're a Chiefs fan at that point. Let's talk about another injury, though, that seems kind of surprising for me and Verderam and I talked about this last week. Verderam and I were kind of the proponents, probably the only people on the podcast that were a little, or on the network, I should say, apprehensive of drafting Joshua Simmons because of the knee injury. And I think the knee injury for us, because of, some studies that have come out, didn't necessarily seem to be the most promising for big guys. And like you've seen, I think it was Jimmy Graham came back from the same patellar knee injury that Joshua Simmons suffered, but he's not as big as Joshua Simmons. Joshua Simmons is a big guy. So like that's the other thing that, we were looking at the numbers and the history of kind of those injuries, and the bounce back return to play rate is not as high as maybe some of the other knee injuries with even wide receivers or anything like that. What I do think is interesting about that study that's been referenced so many times is if you look at the average age of the linemen that suffer those injuries, it's usually a lot closer to retirement age.
Interesting.
So I did find that really interesting. So it's a lot of the times that when they do suffer that injury, they're just like, wow, we're just going to retire because we're close to retirement age anyway. So I think that's interesting about that study. Regardless, he's going, man. Like it sounds like he's going. He is participating in team drills, 7-on-7 or 9-on-7, 11-on-11. And look, Jalen Moore, Jawan Taylor limited during practice sessions. Jalen Moore not showing up to one of the sessions. Interesting to say the least with the Chiefs offensive lineman, but their first round pick getting some real run early on in minicamp, or I guess it's not minicamp yet, and OTAs ahead of minicamp, which is something I certainly did not expect to see.
Yeah, I can't imagine almost anybody did. Even Andy Reid being like the super optimist on like draft night, I think started giving some hints that he'd be available for training camp, and we were all kind of like,
"Whoa, yeah,
really?" Because I think conventional wisdom was probably that he would miss at least the first act of the season, much less the first act of training camp. So, independent of Jalen Moore's deal and just whatever's going on there, it is good. It is worthwhile for Josh Simmons to get as many of those mental reps. They're barely physical reps. Now, for him, with the injury in mind, there's a physicality to the footwork that it's great that Josh Simmons is doing. Like that, obviously. But mostly, this is a mental time. It's also why I think it's really, really hard for us to glean meaningful stuff out of the OTAs, but it is, I believe, I don't know, maybe a coach with truth serum would tell me otherwise, but I believe it is really important for the coaching staff and for the players. It's just not very important to media and fans because you can't see what's going on that matters. What you can't see that's going on that matters is the meeting rooms and the mental stuff and the installs and all of these things they really will be building on throughout the rest of the year, especially for these rookies, especially for Josh Simmons, who he's not a center. He's obviously not a quarterback. He doesn't need to know the absolute inner workings of the entire offense to just be playable, right? Like you can be a excellent tackle who's not 100% downloaded, I'm sure, the entire playbook and whatnot.
Yeah.
But he seems like a bright guy who obviously, if you're going to be protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side for the next decade, which is the goal, the best case scenario, you're going to want to build up that comfort in the offense as much as possible, because you hear all the time, rookies who go out there and think in their rookie season, those dudes are food for Trey Hendrickson. I mean, I don't even know that was Kingsley's problem, right? I think that was, you and I have talked about Kingsley a handful of times and not loving the way that the Chiefs handled that and all of that. But Andy Heck said he wouldn't have changed anything about the process.
I noticed that.
Presser. Andy Heck also did say that Andy Reid made the call at left tackle, like to get to yank Kingsley, which I think we had bantied about at one point, but I think Heck said that kind of verbatim on Wednesday when those pressers were. So I don't know, maybe Heck would have done something differently, but he's not in charge. Obviously the left tackle position never got solved last year, so they have tried to fix that by adding 2 left tackles this offseason, and hopefully one of them's healthy and good.
I wonder how much Wanyama not being fully healthy during training camp kind of hindered everything.
Me too.
Because maybe they wouldn't have given it to Kingsley right away. Maybe it wouldn't have just been Kingsley's job to lose. And look, from only were games and Nate Taylor's reporting, Kingsley was fairly confident in his abilities to be a left tackle,
Yep.
which did not certainly pan out.
No.
Unfortunately for the Chiefs and for Kingsley Suamataia. I do think that he did praise him on his guard ability. He played guard against the Broncos in Week 18, which is hard to take anything away from that game. It is. I don't know if you know this, Josh. On the KC Laboratory, they're doing lessons learned series where they go back and they'll watch a game from the regular season, and we randomized the game that they're go watch all 20 games that the Chiefs played. Maddie and I kicked it off with the Super Bowl just to get that one out of the way.
That's great. That's kind of you.
Yeah. Kent was gone, so it was Maddie and I watching the Super Bowl and saying like, "Oh, maybe they shouldn't play guards at tackle." That's weird. Because when the Chiefs have offensive line problems, that's what happens.
You can get that kind of analysis at the KC Laboratory, only here on KC Sports Network.
But in the Wheel of Games, which is what we have named the wheel,
really good.
I've put all the games in there, and we spin the wheel. The Week 18 game against the Broncos is still looming in that wheel. It's still haunting them every time it spins around. They're thinking, "Oh gosh, do we have to rewatch the Week 18 game against the Broncos?"
It just becomes the Kingsley show, right? I mean, like that is the thing you're watching. So
it has to be. It has to be.
I'm hoping Seth will do that at some point. I think he's planning on doing a Kingsley Week 18 just like chart in. you know what, Seth? This is That Football Show. You know what Seth calls those little 1 week turnarounds, those charts. That's how he feels the off season.
That is how it feels the off season. I don't know if there's anything else of note, really. I mean, Travis Kelce wasn't at practice, which good for him.
Yeah, seriously. That's honestly, man, that's just like your older coworker taking their PTO right at the end of the year and being like, "Hey man, I'm not gonna be here for Christmas or for the month of December." And you're like, "Hallelujah, you've earned it. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Take your time."
Jake Burningstool made a catch that people went crazy for, according to Matt McMullen on Twitter. So his hype train's not going to slow down anytime soon. That's great. That's good to know. On a room, by the way, I think it's so funny that he has the most buzz of any UDFA on the room that might be the hardest to make on the team.
Yeah, so this is kind of a whole other thing. I think we touched on this sometime this week on Only Weird Games. A tight end room that feels like it would be extremely hard to get into the top 3 of, but also a tight end room that's not great.
Right. Yes.
Or that it's at least not prove it. Like Jared Wiley has barely played NFL football. I liked him out of the draft, and we'll see where he ends up. I'm hoping for the best. Another issue of an early ACL tear in his case, where you just hope he's back and moving like he was moving in college, but he wasn't really moving that way. The beginning of his NFL career, just speed of the game and whatnot. Tight ends are hard to project, man.
Yeah.
So I think the Chiefs ought to just pick their favorite weird outlier UDFA tight end every year for the rest of time until one of them becomes a usable tight end 3. But yeah, maybe he's tight end 3 to Gray and Wiley's 1 and 2 next year. I kind of think, I don't know. I don't want to get the 2026 tight end room too fast, but I think there's going to be some different names that aren't just Gray, Wiley, Burningstool.
I forgot about Big Bob Tunyon.
Bobby Tons.
Big Bob Tunyon. Apparently, according to Nick Jacobs, he was targeted a bunch. Bob Tunyon was,
Really? I didn't see that from Nick.
Robert Tunyon, sorry. I've been calling him Bob.
I'm exclusively calling him Bob now.
Yeah, Big Bob Tunyon. He's a big cat.
Bobby Tons is a great little nickname there. So I think we are going to start by the end of the season. We will be talking about Robert Tunyon. It will be impossible to know because at that point we'll be calling him BT. Oh, yep. Bobby T.
My favorite one, one that I hadn't heard before, and I got on a podcast with Brett Coleman. He said Bobby Trees. And I was like, Bobby Trees? Who the hell is he talking about? And I was like, Robert Woods.
Yeah, there we go, Bobby Trees. I love that.
I was like, I was like mid podcast. I was like, I finally understood who Bobby Trees was.
Just got Bobby Trees.
I was like, what are you talking about, dude? And I had not heard that one before. I think that's a very creative nickname. for somebody.
It's a lot of stuff following in the important legacy of Dick Mountain, aka
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yeah. Royal's great, by the way. Royal's legend.
Legend. I feel like more nicknames that instead of making it easier to identify the person makes it harder to identify the person is something we should pick up.
Yeah, it's just like a synonym for your name. I am all down for. I don't really have a good. Well,
all right, I've got a crazy one. You're gonna know who it is. I think maybe instantly. We're going Perfume Louie.
Perfume Louie.
Perfume Louie.
Like, how are you spelling Louis?
Couldn't matter less, honestly.
Okay.
Could not matter less.
Cool.
Look, I'll give you some analysis about this person, and then eventually you're gonna figure out who Perfume Louie is. Play along at home, listeners. Who's Perfume Louie? Man, Tucker, I gotta say, I'm expecting big things from Perfume Louie this year. This dude is a thumper. This dude is a hitter. We have seen him get a larger and larger role in Agnolo's defense. Give me Chanel number 5, Perfume Louie.
That's good.
Chanel.
That's good. Yeah,
that's a free one.
That is a good one. That is a good one. For some reason, you said expecting a lot out of him this year, and I immediately went to Hollywood Brown. And I was like, "Oh, can I do something with Hollywood Brown?"
Hollywood Brown is tough. I mean, no, actually, it's good because it's a nickname on a nickname, and I think the further we dig, the better.
More nicknames. I saw this stand-up comedian bit about the difference between nicknames between races of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how white people, like their nickname, like they put it on like a business card, right? If you're Richard, you're Dick, but like you can't really be Shorty running the bank, right?
Right.
You can't be Cornbread running the bank.
I think you should be able to.
I 100% agree.
I would trust my banker more.
Yeah, yes, I would. I normalize people going by nicknames. I'm a big nickname guy. I love coming up with nicknames and calling people. There's an old dude at the gym I go to. Big T is what I call him. We call him Big T. He's the man. He's old, but he is phenomenal. I love talking to him. He doesn't know what I do either, which is also so refreshing.
Yeah.
To talk to somebody who's just like, hey, you're a big dude, and he is just like, did you used to play football? And I was like, yeah, I did used to play football. That's it. And we just talk about how stuff's going. But he would always call me Guy.
Ooh.
Before he asked me for my name. And I was just like, I don't actually want to give you my name because I like you calling me Guy.
My name is Guy Franklin, actually, now.
Yeah, my name is actually Guy. So I think that is pretty sick. Here's another thing about names. We're kind of getting off the rails here, but people would anticipate this podcast. It's also June 6th, so chill. Yeah. People know that by now. I had never thought of having a son and naming him Tucker Franklin II. Never really thought about it. I was like, wouldn't really do that until I thought that I could call him Deuce.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And then like he'd just be Deuce Franklin, and I'm like, that is sick as hell.
So good. I'm sure I've asked you this before. I'm sure this was an intern question, but if you have not already shared it, or if you have shared it with the KCSN audience, what's your middle name?
Oh, Douglas. That's what the D stands. The D actually does stand for Douglas. Yes.
Okay.
That's what the D stands for.
I will immediately forget that because it ruins the bit. I've of course recalled. But also Tucker Douglas Franklin II is like that works. I think there's something. It does. I think Tucker is not inherently regal sounding, but if you're getting in the second or the junior for that matter, another option you got, if you're getting to that point, you're going full name, and that is a very regal, appropriately large name to go with the second or junior or whatever.
Yeah. Tara doesn't love the Deuce nickname.
Oh, I love it.
I think it's sick. I'd always kind of been like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Like, it seems kind of conceited, right? To name your son after yourself.
Sure.
But then, like, if we never actually call him Tucker, if we always call him Deuce and Deuce is like his name, maybe that sounds more like a dog's name, right? Than like your son. But I don't know. I think, but that's the name of, what's his name? Jason Tatum's son's name's Deuce.
I'm thinking Deuce Vaughn is the
Deuce
one that
Vaughn,
immediately
yes.
comes to mind. I'm sure there are a bunch of Deuces that we're not thinking of that are probably
Yeah.
that path. I feel like I do feel like, especially in, the Mahomeses have really pioneered, the
Ooh,
name game of it all,
they
like
have. That's a good one.
bronze, So I feel like you could Tucker D. Franklin II. The D stands for silver. I feel like you could just do that.
Ooh,
That's their dog, right? One of their dogs.
silver, steel and silver,
Or dog.
sterling.
Yeah, sterling and bronze.
What's the middle baby? Wait, bronze is the middle baby. What's the new baby?
Oh, I don't remember.
I'm sure the new SI on Chiefs on the site has it.
I'm sure they have a name written down.
Mahomes kids.
Golden Ray. They did go golden.
They did go. That's right, Golden Ray.
Boy, that is a good sign. I think that our brains are healing. That we did not immediately know that. Like, I think it's a totally okay thing to know, but we have such serious content brain that I would have, gun to my head, I would have been really confident I could have told you the Mahomes family kids' names and dog names, and I would have gone 4 for 5.
Well, we almost did it. We almost got there.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Golden's got to grow up a little bit and do something interesting. Let's get Golden on Twitch or something, and then it'll be easy to remember.
Goldie is a solid one because you could go with the Goldie, right?
And that's good. That's true. A little Goldilocks situation. Yeah.
I'm
okay.
Also, we're talking about nicknames here. Big fan of just adding a Y, just shortening the name and adding a Y.
Yeah, that's good.
Jordan Foote, I call him Jordy. That's almost exclusively call him Jordy.
You've gotten tucked pretty hard in recent years. I feel like, was Kent really the purveyor of the tucking? Or you been getting tucked your whole life?
No, yeah, I kind of have been getting tucked my whole life. It doesn't really bother me.
I didn't know if it was good or bad. I'm just thinking, I get joshed all the time.
Yeah,
and it's totally fine. That is also my name. It's just missing 2 letters that my mom put there on purpose. So it's like I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't mind like if people call me tuck. People have called me that a while. I think BJ calls me that every now and again, but like it doesn't bother me. Well, like anybody who has got like Frankie, some people have called me Frankie, so I don't like that one just because of my that one doesn't really fit. When I was actually in elementary school, they called me Taco for some reason. I don't remember why. Because my name Tucker kind of sounded like taco, maybe the way that it was pronounced for the first time for them in their 4th grade years. So they're like, "Oh, you mean you're taco?"
KCSN now has this wonderful new relationship with Tacos for Life that's out on the socials right now. Very, very cool. If you guys want to check that out, I do feel like maybe they should give you a mobile Tacos for Life that you could drive around, and maybe you could even brand it yourself and call it the Taco Tuck. I'm just saying.
That's so good.
I'm just saying. We put Tucker on the road. We put him in a truck. We call it the Taco Tuck.
That's so good. Speaking of,
I don't know who that benefits, but it benefits me.
Speaking of, our KCSM Foundation golf tournament has been announced as well. Thank you, Josh, for bringing up Tacos for Life. Yeah. They are one of the presenting sponsors of the Tacos and Bourbon Charity Golf Tournament. This time it's at a new location, Creekmore Golf Course in Raymore. It's on Monday, August 18th, 11 a.m. Central Time. Check out the link in the description. We will have a link to sign up there. You can just go to kcsn.com as well as kind of the press release that BJ has out there. Or you can go to givebutter.com/KCSN Golf. We'll get your team signed up there. Go check it out. It's always a great time. We're on a Monday this year rather than the Saturday. Figured we were kind of going over kind of dates. Sometimes those summer weekends are hard to hammer down. And if all you have to do is ask off for work, that's only one thing you got to ask off for. You don't have to ask, the wife, make sure the kids are cool, make sure you got everything going on there. It's only one thing you got to sort out. So that was the thought process behind there for Monday. Creekmore, phenomenal course as well. So we're excited to be changing places and kind of changing the golf tournament a little bit as well. So get signed up. That will be on August the 18th. Appreciate everyone for helping us out and everything that we do at the KCSN Foundation. But Josh, let's take a break. We're 30 minutes in. We're 30 minutes deep. We got to take a break, and we will get to our quick hitter segment. right after this. Chiefs.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, it's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks flex plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. Here's what you got to do. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Now I feel like I have to explain my throw to break because it's kind of an inside joke.
Yeah, I don't think I've got the inside joke
for all of us here. There was one time where I did throw to break. I think it was during the season, early on in the podcast. I just kind of stumbled over my words a little bit. You know how it all happens, trying to get to break.
Bad too. It
and I
so
just,
bad.
It does. It's like having a wide open layup, but then tripping over yourself is pretty much what it is. And I just kind of stumbled into the break, and we came back, and Verderam was like, "What the fuck was that?" He's like, Chiefs. And so like now every time we throw to break, sometimes I forget, and Verderam will remind me. I was like, I'm just gonna say Chiefs and throw to break. Is kind of what I said afterwards. And so now every time I throw to break, I will say Chiefs before I do it because we joked around. It's just like, that's just how we will now throw to break is I'm just going to say something and then just Chiefs break.
It's a good time to re-up the original reference because I did not know the origin, and it's a delightful bit with now knowing where we've come.
This podcast has come a long ways.
It really has. In many ways, not very far at all.
Right. That's very true. Very true. All right, let's get into our quick hitters. First off, the Missouri Senate approved a bill in the dead of night or the early of morning, however you want to interpret it, to try to keep the Missouri teams in Missouri, specifically mainly for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they are still trying to obviously keep the Royals, but like this is mainly for the Chiefs. This proposal was passed, as I mentioned, Josh, at 2:30 in the morning, which makes everyone feel really good about how their government is working. It was reported they'd had a special session Missouri did starting on Monday, and it kind of bled into Thursday. What has this been? Thursday morning then at 2:30. From the Associated Press here, Missouri senators on Thursday approved a plan to provide over $100 million in aid for tornado-ravaged St. Louis and authorized hundreds of millions of dollars worth of incentives to try to persuade the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals to continue playing in Missouri in new or improved stadiums. Lawmakers are acting with urgency in a special session because the professional sports teams face an end of June deadline to accept a competing offer from Kansas, while residents in St. Louis are struggling to recover from May storms that caused an estimated $1.6 billion in damage.
And if you're wondering, what do those two things have to do with each other, you'd be asking a good question.
That would be a really good question. The aid measures advanced in a series of early morning votes only after Republican Governor Mike Kehoe struck a deal with some holdouts that included more disaster relief money and the potential for property tax breaks for some homeowners facing rising tax bills. The package also contains funding for building projects around the state, including $50 million for a nuclear research reactor used for cancer treatments at the University of Missouri. Actually, did you know University of Missouri, largest nuclear reactor in the country?
I certainly did not know that.
They always win the rankings when the Sickos Committee comes out with
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah, so they always need it. House approval is still needed, but the Senate vote marked a major hurdle. The stadium incentives did stall last month. 25 million, that's about the emergency housing and everything that they have there. Jackson County voters last year turned out a sales extension, if you just to kind of refresh here, that would have helped finance a $2 billion ballpark district for the Royals in downtown and an $800 million renovation for Arrowhead Stadium. The
Parking
Kansas
lots.
proposal, more parking lots and cool suites.
That's right. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, and you can walk around the stadium now.
Yeah.
That as well. If to refresh your memory, if you're not all the way caught up, Kansas passed last year a star bonds to authorize bonds up to 70% of the cost of new stadiums in their state. Missouri's counter proposal would authorize bonds up to 50% of the cost of the stadium projects, while also providing up to $50 million of tax credits to go with the unspecified support from local government. The Chiefs lobbyists called the Missouri's offer legitimate and competitive. And he also said that it would likely begin, the price tag would likely begin for an Arrowhead renovation at $1.15 billion with a B dollars to renovate Arrowhead Stadium and upgrade the team's practice facilities in either 27 or 28, and it would take 3 years to complete.
I have thoughts and opinions, believe it or not, that have been at this point more or less squished out of my body. It's just that entire process. I think you have almost no choice but to be led to a point of like borderline.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a really good way to put it, Josh. I think that like what you just is exactly what I was thinking, and it's just that's how I feel about it.
It's hard to feel good about the process, and it's hard to feel good about the way that we got here.
Yeah.
And it's hard to feel good, frankly, about the next several steps when what we've got here is obviously Kansas and Missouri are both in a bidding war to try to figure out which state can give more money to the teams and ownership groups for the right to have those stadiums in their state.
Yeah.
We could, I don't know, man, we could definitely have a really good, really long conversation about the value of publicly funded stadiums in privately owned teams, right? And that's the situation for everyone in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and always. The numbers are never there to support the investment from the states and the cities. They if not literally, they virtually never pay back what you expect. There have been lots of studies on this. They go back years. While we're here, I'm kind of at a point of another deep sigh and eye roll because, okay, so what we know now is that after waiting and kicking it down the road and this bill and that bill and a vote from citizens of the county and then a whole bunch more, not exaggerating, 2:30 a.m. voting in the dead of night, now Missouri has an offer too.
Yeah.
They couldn't make the offer that the area voted down. So now they make this offer. 2:30 a.m. silence in the dark room, 2:30 a.m. offer, and now we wait again. This, if you are someone who cares deeply about these teams staying in the state of Missouri, I guess this is good news for you because there is now a chance once again that either or both teams will stay in Missouri. Without activity like this, they would have lost probably both of them, I guess. The thing is, and the thing that I've always believed, I think there's a really, really good chance that the teams split states. And then each state gets to make one wrecking ball offer to their respective team.
Yeah.
And then that way both ownership groups can get every dime they can. Both teams can prop up, here's the great deal that we got and the great stadium we're going to bring you. And the states at least share the bill, I guess, is better than not, probably. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to think that they're both going to be in Jackson County in 10 years. But yeah, there's a chance that at least one of these teams stays in Missouri. Nate said this on Weird Games, that it's just, he wrote this in The Athletic. We talked about it on Weird Games. And again, like, this was something that I think I said 2 years ago, whenever this process started. Right. The Chiefs are either going to go get a spaceship in Kansas or renovate Arrowhead. That's it's going to be one of those two things. I can't imagine another path making sense. The Royals, I'm a little more up in the air about, because I think it seems like they're more up in the air about it. But downtown baseball was the pitch that started this whole thing, was the Royals saying, this stadium has concrete cancer. We will not talk about this again in 2 weeks or ever after. But the stadium has concrete cancer, and we want downtown baseball. I want downtown baseball. I love downtown baseball in cities where I've gotten to stumble upon Wrigley Field in Chicago. An amazing, amazing feeling. Downtown baseball makes sense, but the only downtown you're building it in that makes sense is downtown Kansas City, Missouri. A spaceship with a roof for the Chiefs makes sense, but if that's going to get built, it probably fits at the Legends. Now, I'm not reporting anything. I don't know jack about the Sprint campus or Clay County. I don't really want to.
Right. Yeah.
Because both of these teams said what they wanted.
Yeah.
Get their offers. The voters here in my county voted it down. And now they're lapping back around again to get kind of Plan 2 up. And Plan 2 includes a tremendous amount of time of your local politicians getting this thing done in an aid bill at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah. I don't think it's too political to say this doesn't feel great political, process, like a great process.
Yep.
The way that they went about it does not make me feel great. And look, I know I don't really care where the stadiums are at, right? As long as they're in Kansas City, right? If this was like St. Louis, right? If they were trying to leave the city, it'd be a little bit bigger of a deal, right? I would understand the sense of urgency or a 2:30 vote to keep a team that is leaving going to LA, right? Yep. Would understand that.
Totally.
But just kind of the whole process of this does not give me the warm and fuzzies with how they've handled everything. It is a saga that is going to take years to play out as well. Like, again, like Josh, you and I are talking about, I think off air, they're like, no, this is really going to come into effect. They said 26 and 7 and 8 is when they would start building, I think is when they said, if they were to choose the plan from Missouri. But the lease isn't up until 31. So like, for like the Royals and the Chiefs, like they have until 2031 technically. Well, you obviously want a plan in place, but like to be at the current site that they're at.
I mean, I don't want to put this in a way that's going to start scaring people thinking about their own mortality or whatever. But like, there's a world that Patrick Mahomes never plays in the next stadium. Right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
We're probably safe, because that's how you start doing that math. And you go like 6, 7, we can do that. But like, there's a real chance that Patrick Mahomes and Harrison Butker are the only guys on this team who play in the next stadium, and maybe neither of them. It maybe you get your long-standing time of Josh Simmons at left tackle and Xavier Worthy's your number one receiver for a long. That's totally possible. I'm not. Yeah. But it is a complete roster turnover away in NFL terms.
Oh, yeah.
Where again, your quarterback and your kicker might still be there, but these games will not. If you are a Missourian who's really feeling militant about all of this, you can rest easy knowing for a fact that Patrick Mahomes will play the vast majority of his career at Arrowhead Stadium, which I do think feels good. I do think it feels good that Travis Kelce is going to only ever call Arrowhead Stadium home. That's fun. It's also what makes this negotiation not fun for fans. Yeah. And I don't know if it's fun for anybody, but the teams are probably having fun because they're getting offered enormous sums of money. And the politicians, I don't even think are having a whole lot of fun because everybody's stressed and running around and doing things in the dead of night. So
yeah, you got to be up at 2:30 in the morning doing boring stuff.
And you'd think that maybe just do it when everybody's awake, when you had your original sessions, but they couldn't figure it out. And
Oh yeah, a special session. They had left and they'd gone home.
yes,
Mr. Mike, Governor Mike said, "Come on back and stay up till 2:30." If someone told me to come back to work and stay up until 2:30, I'd be annoyed.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure there was annoyance. There's annoyance left and right. There is some right here on this show.
All right. Next quick hitter. Anthony Richardson to miss minicamp after a shoulder injury. Tough news for Indianapolis's, supposed starting quarterback. The third-year signal caller is dealing with a shoulder injury, and he will not participate in minicamp, according to head coach Shane Steichen. He has sustained this injury in his throwing shoulder last week during organized team activities. And this is he played just 4 games in his rookie season before a shoulder injury required season-ending surgery when he returned in 2024. An oblique injury forced him out of 2 games, and then he got really tired in 1 game and asked to be pulled out. He hasn't had the best of career, 47.7 completion percentage on 264 attempts in his career. He was benched for Joe Flacco. The Colts signed Daniel Jones. They also signed they drafted Riley Leonard, and obviously, signing Daniel Jones was very much a competition move for Anthony Richardson, and he will not be able to participate in the competition for his job in minicamp, at least. Josh,
I have to imagine that I am bringing a real anti-Verderam take here, just knowing Matt pretty well. I don't know his take on Anthony Richardson, but I will say I think that drafting Anthony Richardson where the Colts did was the right thing to do.
Correct.
And I think he, as a quarterback and as a player and as a project, was one of, and kind of remains one of, the most enticing quarterback processes in recent memory. I completely understand how they got there. The way they have managed that process since has I don't want to make it sound like Anthony Richardson is entirely a victim of his circumstance. That's not true either, both from the helmet tap out to the performance and the accuracy and some of the decision making. But also, you remember that throw when he slipped his back foot and still somehow heaved that ball 65, 70 yards in the air, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's special. Like, there is something special there. Unfortunately, it seems like the Shane Steichen of it all was not a magic fix, and maybe that relationship isn't ideal. I obviously don't know for sure. But signing Daniel Jones made sense because you need to have a safety net. This guy's been hurt. This guy has not been consistent. You want to have a adult playing quarterback if Richardson can't go, whatever. If he's missing significant time in the offseason, it's going to be even harder to get back on that horse. And that's from someone who really likes Anthony Richardson in a whole lot of ways. He'll probably back up Jalen Hurts in a couple of years and then play a few games and give himself another contract by looking great with the Eagles or something. I'm really enticed by him. I don't necessarily think he makes a lot of sense as like a future Chiefs backup probably, but I'd freaking take it, man. I'd give him to Andy Reid and let him sneak the ball a couple times and run a couple of sub package things or whatever. And again, maybe his college tape and his measurables might just always keep him in a active competition, not just relegated to backing up the franchise if it's Philly or here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not expecting him in Kansas City ever, but I would kind of like to see him get a fresh start with an organization who actually believes in him. I don't think the Colts believe in him entirely at this point any longer. And also, I don't think Anthony Richardson has forced them to believe in him at any point. So I don't know. It feels like one of those relationships where you're just kind of looking forward to the breakup because both of your friends might be better off. That's kind of where this feels. It's
so interesting with Anthony Richardson because on one hand, as you mentioned, I could see that you could see the talent there, the arm talent and the strength. Accuracy was always an issue, but the other hand, I've said this for a while that I think Josh Allen has broken quarterback evaluations in terms of how we evaluate rookie quarterbacks, and everyone's just like, oh, well, Josh Allen was bad one year, then was good the next year, so you can have a bad rookie year. Well, that doesn't usually happen. Yeah. It doesn't all of a sudden just like magically fix your accuracy like Josh Allen did, which shout out to Josh Allen, phenomenal quarterback, fixed his accuracy. That was a huge problem for him. It did not happen with Anthony Richardson. His accuracy did not get fixed. Yep. Maybe he needed glasses though. I don't know if you've seen this, Josh. He's been wearing more sports goggles recently. Like he's been wearing Yeah, he's been wearing goggles now. So maybe it was a vision problem. Maybe he needs to get LASIK.
That's what Jameis did, right?
Jameis got LASIK. Was that after he threw his 50 interception season or not?
30. Yeah, I think it was, but I can't remember for sure. It honestly doesn't matter. Either way, it's hilarious.
One of the most incredible stat lines of all time.
He either threw 30-30 and then got LASIK, or he got LASIK and then threw 30-30. Either way, it's hysterical.
I love Jameis so much.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I see the talent, right? But then I also think in the same breath, the KC Live guys were very high on him. I think they had him at quarterback 1 in that draft. They legitimately loved the talent. In the same breath, he wasn't good at Florida. His teams at Florida were not very good. He was hurt at Florida too. So it's not shocking what's happened to Anthony Richardson because we saw it happen to Florida. Right. That's the thing is it's not shocking. You were trying to bank on something that hadn't happened yet. And well, it didn't work out. And it doesn't seem like it will work out. If you're getting beat out by Daniel Jones in the year of our Lord 2025, maybe it might be time to figure something else out. Yeah. That's a darn shame. The Colts have had a hell of a time trying to find a quarterback ever since Andrew Luck retired. They have had the worst quarterback luck. No pun intended. I
did see somebody tweet that Daniel Jones will just lead them to a 2-win season, and then Arch Manning will declare they'll take Arch Manning at 1-1. Full circle.
Wow. That would be crazy.
That'd be honestly kind of cool, except for it would be infuriating because that would have happened to the Colts twice now.
Yeah, to the AFC. Let's see how many good quarterbacks can fit in the AFC. Cam Ward's already in the AFC. Throw them all in, I guess.
Man, I'm just sorry. I'm in silence. Good podcasting was going through the divisions. The AFC South's actually kind of figured it out a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you got Stroud, Lawrence for better or for worse,
right? And then Ward for whatever he's going to be.
Daniel Jones. It's the meme with the clown with the military.
Yeah, or I was thinking about the
dragon head,
three-headed dragon, but add fourth, and it's.
Uh-huh.
Although that I don't know, I don't think Trevor Lawrence gets to have full regular dragon status, but
that's true. That's a good point.
Trevor Lawrence does either, but
that's true. Trevor Lawrence might not be good.
I have never had the right opinion about Trevor Lawrence. I have never had the same opinion about him for 10 straight days. It never matters. It's something.
I remember when he was coming to the draft and everyone was like, "This guy's the next Peyton Manning."
Yeah, it's
I was like, I don't think so. I wasn't necessarily sold on that. And he hasn't been the next Andrew Luck or the next Peyton Manning or the next Tom Brady. Any of them hadn't done it. So,
and the Jags had the number 1 pick the next year too. It took Trayvon Walker.
Oh,
you do kind of forget just how because people obviously this year's draft kind of blew out of proportion, and Cam Ward went 1 and nobody cared, and then no other quarterbacks went till Dart, right? Yeah. You do kind of forget that there are years when it's all right, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud 1-2, Anthony Richardson at 4, and there's quarterbacks loading up the top, and then you go back a year and you go, oh yeah, the first quarterback off the board in 2022 was Kenny Pickett at 20.
that draft was so bad.
But that happens relatively frequently. And the year before, it was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's all about the quarterbacks. And then before that was the Burrow year. And then, Burrow, Tua, Herbert. We got spoiled by that a little bit, especially because Tua was Bama Tua still. I would hit the back stuff already. But
yeah. What was the Kenny Pickett year, though? Was that also the Malik Willis year? Was that the same draft class?
I bet it was.
And people
Control F QB here. Oh, yeah, it was Pickett. Malik Willis was the 3rd quarterback off the board.
Oh, no, it was the 2nd.
Matt Corral went later. Bailey Zappi was next. Sam Howell.
Chiefs legend.
Chris Oladokun, Chiefs legend.
Chiefs legend.
Skylar Thompson, K-State legend. And then Brock Purdy went 262. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Who's the 2nd quarterback?
Desmond Ridder. I mean, by a mile, the best quarterback in this draft was the last pick of the draft.
Yeah,
I am not a Brock Purdy stan.
Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah, that was
Sam Howell and Bailey Zappi might be next in the competition there. I mean, it's I guess it's Pickett, I guess.
We talked about Werner and I talked about this earlier this week. Bailey Zappi played real football games, started real NFL games. And like you're looking at your third string quarterback starting real football games on this quarterback room that they have. They got like a low key, like Gardner Minshew has played some critical football games. He's been on a team and led a football team. I don't know if he's played playoff games, but darn near close.
Boy, I think Gardner did get a playoff game. I'm on it.
There you go.
You can take us to the next quick hitter.
He might have. All right. Last quick hitter that we have here, then we'll get into power rankings. Aaron Rodgers.
2 playoff games. Oh, it was with the Eagles. Never mind. That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't. Aaron Rodgers.
Who?
You ever heard of him? Officially signs a 1 year. Well, I shouldn't say officially signs. Agreed to terms.
Yes.
Agreed to terms with the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 1 year deal. All I have to say is thank God it's over because this saga had been going on way longer than I wanted it to.
I know this is a fresh new take that no one's ever had on a podcast before. But I've just about had enough of this fella.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Tucker. I don't think it's an officially signed deal as we record this right now, and I'm pretty confident about that because I'm guessing there's going to be like a mini series made about him actually putting pen to paper in Pittsburgh, actually getting there for minicamp because reportedly he didn't like the distraction he caused by being in Egypt during minicamp last year. Look, man. You pick whatever meme you want. If it's SpongeBob with the Maniac Wanted poster behind him, if it's we're all trying to find the guy who did this in the hot dog costume, whatever it is, the thing that makes me like irrationally annoyed with Aaron Rodgers, there's a number of things that I don't find particularly enjoyable about the fella. But the thing that I would like to believe we could like bipartisanly be annoyed about with Aaron Rodgers is the fact that like it would be like if Mike Tomlin had Stephon Diggs' offseason in terms of just about eliminating distractions, about being professional, about just focusing on what we've got here. It's about not blinking, never blink. And then he's finding a pink powdery substance surrounded by companionship on a boat.
Right.
It's like, all right, like I know this is not new ground, but the hypocrisy of Aaron Rodgers is so frustrating because it's so thin. Like, it's so evident. A lot of people are hypocritical about a lot of things. We're all human. It happens. But Aaron Rodgers has been saying for years, we just have to eliminate distractions and stop watching the things that are happening outside of the building. And I know he was saying that because he was saying it on the Pat McAfee show on live television.
Yeah.
And just be that guy. Because clearly he's that guy, right? Aaron Rodgers will eventually someday retire. And he will have a podcast or a TV show, or there will be something that keeps him in the mix. And hey, look, this is my 5th podcast this week. I don't think it's morally reprehensible to be in front of a camera or on a microphone. I think that's a reasonable way to spend your time if you have the opportunity to do so. But if I was also doing a podcast about the dangers of podcasting and how no one should be talking about how my life is built on me never podcasting. I focus on my yard and my kitchen and my house because I don't ever podcast. And I say that to you on that football show. Like, well, wait a second, Josh. How does this all add up? And that's the thing with Rodgers. Look, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch play football of all time. I think the evolution of his personality in recent years has not been particularly good for anybody. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, I think people who agree with Aaron Rodgers on things could probably understand how his personality has become grating publicly over time.
Yeah.
Well, now here we are on June 6th, and the selfless thing that he's done is tell the team who's been waiting on him all offseason that he will, in fact, be playing football. What a hero. It's just kind of silly to me.
I know he can be a bit polarizing in some of his other takes that he has, but just like strictly football speaking, he is very just like hypocritical, even strictly football speaking, is what you're talking about with just a lot of the things that he does.
Yeah, the distractions. It's just the distractions of it all. Yeah. It's we got to eliminate distractions. We got to focus on the stuff that's in the building. We got to not focus on the stuff outside the building. Andy Reid says that stuff all the time. And then he lives that life. You know,
about it.
He's actually about it. When Andy Reid's on TV, it's because somebody really needed him to do the TV hit. You know, so like the team was like, "Hey, you got to do 3 of these a year. You know, can we do these things? Whatever." Like he will. Andy Reid at the podium will downplay off the field things if it seems like a distraction in the building. Again, he will be about it that way. That you're right. It's a good clarification. Rodgers' hypocrisy is just that. It is we must stamp out distractions here on the Pat McAfee show.
Yes. Nevertheless, he joins a quarterback room comprised of Will Howard, Mason Rudolph, and Skylar Thompson. So,
wow. Yeah.
saying that the
Skylar was
Steelers,
there.
saying that the Steelers needed him to sign sooner rather than later may be a bit of a understatement. But yeah, Josh, I think this might make them win 9 games again.
I think this could be a 9-win team with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Absolutely. I really do.
Well, that's the NFL news. Those are our quick hitters. Let's get into some power rankings. And let's start it off, Josh. Since you're the guest, I'll let you go first. I don't have the fun little under jingle that you guys always had, like
That's
the
okay.
underneath.
Beards' original creation. Yeah.
Yeah, Beards' original creation. I don't have that.
That's okay.
Maybe that would add a nice flair to the pod if I was able to find a Beard's original creation in the closet or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but we are power ranking cereal, and this is probably one that Verderam's going to want to do. So maybe we'll get his honorable mention list.
Have him text it to you, get the 3-wide graphic, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Oh, that's true. I could. But let's do cereals, breakfast cereals from 5 to 1. Josh, kick us off first. Your number 5 cereal.
My number 5, I think, is going to be a little bit controversial. I'm a big chocolate guy. I'm going at number 5, Cocoa Pebbles.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
They got a fun mouthfeel. That you don't have a lot of time with them in the bowl, obviously. They're going to turn your milk chocolatey. You put chocolate milk on there, and it's double chocolate. This is not something I've done since acquiring type 1 diabetes, but something I enjoyed as a child. Those are not related activities, by the way. It's not how type 1 diabetes works. It's a common misconception. But I'm going to have some cocoa representation in here, and at the 5 spot, I like the Pebbles. That's a unique texture, and you got to get a small bowl and speed through it.
We might see a Pebbles family member show up on my list here.
Love that.
Number 5 for me, I got Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops are somewhat nostalgic and classic in terms of a cereal. Sure. Again, I think you'll find a theme on my list like you did last week with kind of how I approach the things that I like to eat. Fruit Loops, man, I feel like they're always one of those things that they're in, those little mini boxes that you could get.
Dude, I was going to say, I think the last time I had Fruit Loops was probably a mini box at a hotel.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'm not really grabbing them. I do not need a full-size box of Fruit Loops in my house. But you give me one of those little boxes?
The fruity, sugary flavors of Fruit Loops, a big fan of. Fruit Loops at 5 for me. Josh, number 4 for you.
Number 4 is the one that I'm the most confident is not going to be on your list, and I think is going to be a little bit of a Cinderella story here. Number 4 for me is Golden Grams.
Interesting. Okay.
They are essentially, I would say, a graham cracker sort of flavored cereal. Something I haven't done yet that I would like to do. Mix a little bit of that up with my number 5, those Cocoa Pebbles.
Ooh.
You're getting into s'mores territory.
Yeah.
They're pretty sweet. We have a bag of Golden Grams in the house right now because we're getting real out here now. I'll take some Golden Grams and either some dark chocolate chips or some dark chocolate almonds, not dark chocolate dipped, dark chocolate flavored. Blue Diamond almonds cornered the market. They're unbelievable. They taste like cocoa cereal. Mix some of those in with some Golden Grams, and you've got an admittedly sugary, relatively high carb count, little trail mix sort of spinoff there. You could throw some mini marshmallows in that if you'd like, or again, I think some Cocoa Pebbles and some Golden Grams. Shake that up in a little cup and enjoy yourself a nice crunchy treat. Golden Grams really underrated.
Wow, interesting. I do like me some Golden Grams. Did miss my list though. It did miss my list. Number 4 for me, I got Captain Crunch berries.
All berries or Captain?
Not Oops All Berries.
Okay,
I still want the Captain Crunch in there with the berries.
A good call. Oh man, I just remembered what I forgot on my list. Oh no.
Yeah, this is what's tough about this exercise. Captain Crunch berries. I do like the fruitiness. With Captain Crunch is good. It's solid cereal. I think you add the berries in there, it makes it a little bit better. But yeah, I just like to eat it. That's why it's at number 4, but I don't like to eat it more than these top 3. So Josh, top 3. We're in top 3 category. What do you got?
We'll hit some honorable mentions afterwards.
We're gonna hit honorable mentions at 2. So at
okay.
after our number 2s, after we both give our number 2, we'll do honorable mentions.
I could have, now that we're here, I could have done a top 10 without any problems at all.
Yeah.
Maybe a top 25. Number 3 for me, Cinnamon Life. I really like this cereal. You actually mentioned Life as we were just sort of getting our big board set pre-show. We don't exchange notes. We were just sort of both wanted to make sure we hit some favorites. When you said Life, I knew, oh man, a real high level. Look, this is my cereal power rankings at age 30, which is what I am right now.
Right, yeah.
I've got some sweet stuff in here. I let off with Cocoa Pebbles and Golden Grams. This is not a healthful list. But the Cinnamon Life, it has enough cinnamon kick without being super sugary, but you get a couple little sugar crystals in there. Plus, they actually hold their texture in milk very well, I think. They've got a great crunch dry. You get some milk into the sort of waffle pattern on those sort of individual. They're almost like flattened Chex pieces, but I think they're superior to Chex in virtually every way. Cinnamon Life, also very, very underrated. High on my list, coming in at the 3 spot.
Interesting. I did realize that I've got a pretty bad omission here.
I'm really scared. I'm scared about my number 2. I'm backing off my number 2 now. I'm considering swapping 2 for an honorable mention right now. That's where we're at.
Yeah, well, no, as I'm looking at my list, I can't take any of my top 3 off, but there's one that is missing the list, and probably people are screaming that.
Do you want to go back and adjust 4 or 5, or is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. I've already said them. Number 3 for me, Reese's Puffs.
Thank God. I was so afraid that was the one that you didn't put down.
No. Reese's Puffs is on there because look, it's the peanut butter, it's the chocolate. I actually really do enjoy the texture of those puffs. I feel like they're different than a lot of other puff cereals. It almost feels like there's a little bit of like a coating on them. And I do enjoy that. I do love the mix of the peanut butter and the chocolate. The milk is always very good too when you get down to it.
True.
That's like one of the I'm not a big like cereal milk drinker. Not a huge. I'll usually just eat as much cereal as it takes to get rid of the milk. Is kind of how my approach is. Milk always.
You're not dumping delicious milk down the drain. You're adding cereal. Good. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But I've never been like, oh, I'm done with this first bowl, so I'm gonna drink the rest of this milk. I've never been that type of guy. I just add more cereal to it, and then I'll just take it down for as much as it needs. But Reese's Puffs are one of those things too. A little bit nostalgic. I remember when they came out, and I remember it was hot in the streets, and I'm glad that it was one of those things that wasn't like a novelty. Yeah. Like the Oreo O's, I think were some of them that they came out. I don't know if they're still around, but like they might be. But there's some of those novelty cereals that come out that are adjacent to candy bars that don't stick around, and that's one that is, I think, kind of found its way and is like established itself almost as its like own cereal and its own separate thing. So Reese's Puffs, number 3 on my list, really could be at 2 or 1, but this is a tough list to crack.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give a little spoiler for my top slots here to address Reese's Puffs. I'm really glad they're on your list because they did not make my top 5.
Wow.
They are a brutal, high-ranking honorable mention.
Yeah.
You're right about the coating. I slightly prefer the structure of a straight Cocoa Puff, even though I love peanut butter. We'll address some of that in the honorable mentions, but I am prepared with that. With that said, a very deserving 3 spot for Reese's Puffs. They didn't make my top 5, and it hurt me, but I had to be true to myself, and I had to be true to my number 2 option that nobody's going to like.
Ooh.
Frosted Mini Wheats.
Oh!
Here's why, okay? Maybe I like breakfast that feels like I'm a horse eating my feed for the day. I don't know. But there is simply no cereal that gives you the textural experience of a frosted shredded mini wheat.
It's true.
You get it in the milk for a while. This is one where I think you might want to let it sit for a second. Maybe you pour your milk and go make your coffee in that order. Of course, you cannot do that with my number 5 Cocoa Pebbles. By the time you get back, you'll simply have chocolate milk on your table, and that will not be good.
Yeah.
But with the mini wheats, even if you start right away, your first bite, crunch. Oh man, a crunchy, weedy, again, horse feed kind of sensation. What a unique bite. You get down a little bit, you get to that sweet spot where the only thing that crunches really is the sugar coating on one side of the mini wheat. Now, sometimes you get a mini wheat that doesn't have any sugar coating, and that's worse than death. But You get a real soggy one at the very end. You get your last one or two little floaters down there. Those are these soft, spongy experiences that have given you so much variety for a cereal that only has one form factor, those little biscuits. The maple syrup flavored ones might actually be the best standalone, but I'm a chocolate fiend, so my best version of this was shredded mini wheats in chocolate milk. I will never apologize for my truth and who I am. The blueberry and strawberry ones are both very good. I've got a soft spot for a mini wheat.
I do remember when I was a kid having some frosted mini wheats, and they're like milk bombs, right? Like because they soak up the milk and you bite into it, and it's like a fruit gusher, but milk and cereal.
Yes.
And I would always have to make sure that the frosted side was down on my tongue so I could taste the sugar.
You're a veteran. You know the strategies.
Yeah.
In the streets. I love that.
Frosted mini wheats will be on my honorable mention. We'll get honorable mentions after I give my number 2, which is Fruity Pebbles. Big Fruity Pebbles guy. One of my favorite cereals, like kind of adjacent to Fruit Loops, right? But it's something about the pebble itself that makes it feel like I can just shovel them all into my mouth as much as I could just take huge bites and get a lot of cereal in my mouth about the pebbles.
Great
also,
call.
The Flintstone branding, incredible. I do love just the fruity flavor, the sugar right in your veins type of flavor of the Fruity Pebbles. Again, can't let them sit because they are going to get soggy. And those last few bites are just mush. But, man, I love me a good bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
Part of the thrill.
It is. Josh, honorable mentions before we move on to number ones.
Cocoa Puffs, I've eaten a ton of. They are not my number one. They honestly probably could have been. They're on outside looking in. With Reese's Pieces and the one that made me scream in agony earlier, the peanut butter Captain Crunch, really good. So if I'm building a perfect cereal, it might be half Cocoa Pebbles, half peanut butter Captain Crunch. I might be engineering my own Reese's Puffs that way.
Yeah.
Frosted Flakes, not on my top 5. They get an honorable mention. I think they have an important place in cereal history, but could not quite crack it, as do Honey Bunches of Oats. Another one that outside looking in that we've got in the pantry right now. A good another feed bag kind of cereal that I enjoy, but not enough to make the top 5.
The one that made me realize that I might have messed up, Lucky Charms. I did not have Lucky Charms in my top 5.
Can I? Is this a safe place?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like them. I don't like them.
Is it the chalky marshmallows? Is that what you don't like about them?
I like the chalky marshmallows.
Oh, but you don't like the charms.
The actual, lucky. It doesn't taste very lucky to me.
Yeah.
Those, the little grain pieces, whatever. I don't know if I don't remember what they're made of.
I think those are the lucky, and then the charms are the marshmallows.
The charms, I love a Marbit, which is what those little marshmallows are called. I also will give you a recommendation. Everyone who's listened to this much of Cereal Talk can have this recommendation, but you in particular should know about a podcast called The Empty Bowl. It's hosted by Justin McElroy of My Brother and Me and the McElroy family stuff, and Dan Gobert, who has a website called Cerealistly, where he reviews cereals. The Empty Bowl is a meditative cereal podcast that you can listen to as you fall asleep if you choose to use it that way. It's very low-key, very vibey. With that being said, I don't like Lucky Charms.
That's okay. Captain Crunch, OG Captain Crunch.
Huge, great cereal.
Yeah, you already mentioned Frosted Flakes. Frosted Mini Wheats were on mine as well as Honey Bunches of Oats. So I think we covered a lot of ground. So number 1,
you think we got the same?
I think we do have the same.
You think it's the legend at the top?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't quite like it.
I think it's hard to top this cereal, truthfully. Like I
agree.
Every time we go to the store and we're like, oh, let's see if we can get something else. But then we're like, well, then we wouldn't get this. We wouldn't have this.
The magic of, I'm going to say, Tucker, our number 1 cereal is that most of the ball knowers who are also cereal knowers, they just closed their eyes and they went, oh, obviously they're talking about Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yes.
It's really hard to beat. I love a chocolatey cereal. I thought for sure I was going to have chocolate up higher. But man, you're telling me I get 1 box of delicious treats for the rest of my life? I only get to take 1 cereal with me to the deserted island? I'm taking my CTC, baby.
Yeah. That's what I wrote on my list. CTC. It's a great acronym. Again, good branding, great nickname. It's phenomenal. Makes the milk so good. That's another part of it. It's almost a cereal that is so good when it's still like dry.
Mm-hmm.
When you can eat handfuls of it. When you put it in milk and it gets soggy, it's still good though. Like it's still good soggy, and that's the thing about Cinnamon Toast Crunch is it is the Magnus Carlsen of cereal. And I know Magnus Carlsen just lost.
He just lost.
But I think he's like in the lead actually, technically,
That
in
makes
terms of all
total
of it. But
sense.
like because he is just that good at chess. I think Cinnamon Toast Crunch is just that good at being a breakfast cereal that it is just like Cinnamon Toast Crunch and then everything else is fighting for second. That's what it is.
So I'm reading here, it's sweetened whole wheat and rice cereal. So maybe it's the
interesting.
grain combination there of the actual squares that gives it that special texture. Plus, it is a sweet cereal. It's not one that you're going to eat 3 straight bowls of and feel normal afterwards. But it's sweet enough to be a treat. It's cinnamony enough to be cinnamon forward. Like, it's okay that that's the first word in it. The toasty texture of it all, I just... Truly a special cereal, and I feel blessed to be alive at the same time as Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, some people say they were born in the wrong generation. No, it's born in the right one. I think
I could have been born as early as March 5th, 1984, but that's the earliest because that's apparently when it was introduced. I'm on the Wikipedia right now.
Interesting. I love a good Wikipedia page deep dive. If I ever had like a podcast where I could just talk about whatever I wanted to, I'd just go to Wikipedia. We'd start at one topic and just see where we ended up. And like
I like that. I like that idea a lot.
And it's just me looking at lead singers of 2000s rock bands is what it would be.
I also got to say, you go to Wikipedia, you look at the photo, the featured photo of CTC down there a little bit. You can zoom in so much that you can, like, every grain of sugar is like a pixel on. I mean, you can see every grain of sugar on your computer screen. It is borderline erotic. It's a perfect looking cereal.
I typed in CTC and it brought up the California Trade Commission, and that is not what I want.
Not borderline erotic. If you scroll down a little bit and there's close up of Cinnamon Toast Crunch down in the description section, click that and then click it again to zoom, and you're gonna think, oh, that's as big as it gets. I can actually click it again and it gets even larger. The waves of cinnamon through it, the variety from piece to piece, it's a perfect cereal.
Yeah, wow, it is a really large photograph.
It is a big JPEG of a perfect cereal.
It is good. I mean, like, I don't know if I've ever met anyone that doesn't like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Truthfully.
I bet Kent or Seth doesn't like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
We'll text him.
I bet Seth does. They're definitely not gonna get back to us before we're done with this show, though, because before we started, behind the curtain, everybody, we were like, this is gonna be under an hour, probably, right? I'm like, yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, I didn't know how long we went. Well,
I'm having a lovely time.
That's good. So am I. You had a good time, right?
Yeah, man. No, it's fine. I've had a fine time. It's been okay.
I was thinking of another joke that I shouldn't probably make, but that's okay.
You tell me if it was bad though, right? You tell me.
Right? Yeah. I can't say it. I'm not gonna do it. There's not very many times I don't say what I'm thinking on this podcast. That's one of the things I'm not gonna say.
You ever try the Cinny Mini Churros? I haven't tried.
Yeah,
those.
No, I haven't. I always do think this is really interesting about Midwesterners when they start talking, like when they answer a question, but they'll say the word that they do not mean. So there's always a yeah, no. If it's no, or it's no, yeah. No, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
I haven't. Yeah.
Same. Yeah, neither have I.
Right. We can have this conversation because we're Midwesterners. Verim, not. He would be like, that's fucking stupid. That's
so true, actually. But hey, Matt, have you had the cinnamon churro? No. Why would I? All right. Yeah, good point. Well communicated. We've got to have some conversational mystery.
We do.
In the Midwest.
We do. There's got to be nuance. Not everything's so black and white.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of That Football Show. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Friday edition. We'll be back on Wednesday with Verderham should be back by then. Should be recovered from his injury and his surgery. Make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe. 1 like equals 1 bowl of cereal. So hit the like button, subscribe to become a ball knower, so you can get all kinds of content at KC Sports Network. You can watch Josh's show, Only Weird Games, live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:45-ish Central Time on the KCSN YouTube channel. Obviously, that podcast goes up after the fact on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I appreciate you guys being here and hanging out with us, spending your summer weekend, kicking off your summer weekend with us. We appreciate you guys. So for Tucker Franklin, that's Joshua Brisco. Thank you to our partners, Ben Holiday, Bottled and Ball Bourbon, and Holiday Distillery for making this show possible. We appreciate you guys. I would stick around, but I got to go eat some cereal.